Hi. Okay, people, this is task 8. I'm not allowed to move that hand, so that's supposed to be a 3 plus 5, 8. Um, this is your last video on India. For task 9, you're going to watch another little video that someone else made, and then you can re-watch these videos or pause them for the quiz that'll be task 10. So, India's getting ready for independence. We talked about Gandhi and his idea of ahimsa, which is nonviolence, and satyagraha, civil disobedience, fighting back without fighting, fighting against oppression with words and publicity and speeches and boycotts and marches, but not with violence. So speaking of violence, we have World War II, which is, as you know, 1939 to 1945. And after 1945, after World War II, it is really hard for Europe to justify keeping all of their colonies because Europe has just fought against Hitler. And they said they fought against Hitler because Hitler was taking over other people's countries. And they, fight against Japan because Japan is taking over other people's countries. So these imperialist countries who are on the winning side of World War II have a pretty hard time turning around and saying, we fought against Hitler because Hitler took over Czechoslovakia and Poland, but we get to keep India because India's British. So 1947, India gets its independence, but it's complicated. So thinking back to Gandhi had basically 3 really key ideas. He really wanted Indian independence from Britain, and all of India was united in that purpose. He really wanted to get rid of the caste system, especially to get rid of untouchability. There's the caste system, and it has many, many, many layers of Jati's castes. And at the bottom is this class of people called untouchable that are so low in the caste system that they don't even have a caste. And you're not even supposed to touch them. They do the dirtiest jobs. They are the lowest of the low. And like I said, it is just like so widespread in Indian society that it was really a social problem of hierarchy, and Gandhi wanted to get rid of it. Indians were not quite so united in like abolishing untouchability as they were in getting rid of Britain. The third thing that Gandhi was very passionate about was Hindu-Muslim unity. He really believed that Hindus and Muslims and all other religions are brothers and sisters, that India should be united, there should be religious freedom, that people should learn from one another. Again, the whole country as a whole is not quite as united behind that idea as Gandhi would like them to be. So they're super on board with like, let's get rid of the British. They really do rise to the occasion with the nonviolent revolution. It's extraordinary. It is pretty unprecedented, pretty unfollowed. It is very unusual for such an enormous country to throw off such a long, long period of colonization in a nonviolent way. It was amazing. But Gandhi's dream of Hindu-Muslim brotherhood, sisterhood, didn't quite pan out in the end. What happens is Hindus and Muslims start to the leaders of the parties, the Muslim League says we really need our own country. We don't feel comfortable being part of India because we're going to be in the minority. We're not going to have our rights. The British had done a lot of divide and conquer in India, where they used certain princes and they used some of the Muslim leaders to try to like pit certain Indian people against other Indian people so that the British could have more power. And there's a lot of mistrust, and there's so eventually India gets its independence, but it gets split in 2. So there are 2 countries created after British colonialism is over in 1947. One is India, which is a democracy, freedom of religion, but majority Hindu. And then there's Pakistan, and it's majority Muslim. So you have Pakistan, which is majority Muslim, India, which is majority Hindu, and to Gandhi's dismay, as soon as independence happens, there's like this mass migration of Muslims leaving India for Pakistan, and mass migration of Hindus and also Sikhs leaving Pakistan for India. And there's a lot of violence that happens. People attack each other on the way. There's a lot of interreligious conflict and death. So the partition of India into India and Pakistan is a very bloody one, even though the revolution against the British and the independence movement was a non-violent one. So it's really very sad. So there are two countries that are created. Modern India, like I said, it's a democracy. It's still the world's largest democracy because it's got 1.3 billion people, like 4 times more people than the United States. Officially, they get rid of the caste system, but like I said, it's like getting rid of racism here. It still exists. It's just not legal. They create a lot of like affirmative action for people in lower caste to get posts in government and things. And they modernize the country to a great extent. We talked about China last week, and India is very similar in that it has rapidly modernized, and a lot of the manufacturing in the world happens in India. Huge sectors of the world economy, tech support, certain kinds of manufacturing, cotton happen in India. India has also today a fairly diversified economy. There's service sector, manufacturing sector, the whole thing. India is very, very stratified economically, very rich and very poor. A lot of India is still poor, rural, farming, living in villages, and the cities are enormous. Some important things you should know. India and Pakistan fight over a region that's kind of like in between the two countries called Kashmir. They fight in the 50s over Kashmir, or maybe like maybe 49 after independence. They also fight in the 60s over Kashmir. There's a rebellion in Punjab, which is a northwestern region of India where there are a lot of Sikhs. Sikhism is a different religion from Hinduism or Islam. It shares some characteristics with both, but it's an independent religion, and the majority of the world's Sikhs probably live in Punjab, in what is now India, although there are lots of Sikhs all over the world. I'm not sure how many Sikhs live in Europe and Asia and North America, but it's they rebel and try to get independence, which they don't. I'm giving a lecture to my students, honey. Yeah, come here. We're talking about the history of India. You want to say hi?
Yeah, I want to tell you something.
Go ahead.
Okay. When the world was young, Zeus was a mighty Zeus. Zeus was the only Zeus who could make lightning out of his hands. He had hands.
Wow, where did you learn that?
I just made it up in my head.
I like it. That was
Zeus
nice.
was a
Close that door,
mighty
buddy.
Zeus.
Okay, so a little bit of Greek mythology there. Hang on, I gotta close the door. Okay, sorry. That was Remy. Okay, what else should you know? Pakistan doesn't do quite as well as India does in terms of democracy. There's a lot of like military overthrow of the government, so there's not quite as much political freedom, civil liberties in Pakistan. It is a democracy, but not as successful as a democracy as India. India and Pakistan fight quite a bit, kind of politically. In the 50s, it's interesting though, countries like India and Pakistan formed this movement called non-alignment. Basically, during the Cold War, there's the first world, which is the United States and everybody that agrees with us, and the second world, which is the Soviet Union and everybody who agrees with them. And then there's the third world. Have you ever heard of third world countries? That meant like countries that are not in the United States or Soviet Union sphere of influence in the Cold War. So like places like India or Pakistan, who are in the third world, which is now kind of a derogatory term, and people usually say like the developing world now, create this non-alignment movement where they're like, hey, we're not so totally crazy about capitalism or communism, and we don't want to join your team. So that's interesting, kind of, that they stake out their own path. But it's not all like peaceful. In the 70s, Pakistan, there's like an east and west Pakistan, and the eastern part of Pakistan becomes its own country, which is now called Bangladesh. And then in the 80s, both India and Pakistan become nuclear powers. In the 80s, they both develop nuclear weapons, and part of it is because they have conflict with each other about religion, about Kashmir, about lots of things. And also in the 80s in India, there's like this super kind of right-wing nationalist political party that comes to power called the BJP. And so today in India, there is quite a lot of like Hindu-Muslim conflict. The government of India has freedom of religion. But not every politician who's come to power in India believes in freedom of religion. Pakistan is a little different. I should look this up before I give a lecture. Maybe you should look it up for me. I do not know if Pakistan is technically a democracy with a Muslim majority or technically a theocracy, which means it is officially a Muslim country. I believe it may be officially a Muslim country, which means it's not just like pure religious freedom like the United States or India, like on paper. But I should look that up. I don't know. So both countries today, India and Pakistan, and also Bangladesh, are free from British rule. All of those economies are developing because India is by far the biggest. They are the most powerful economically. And today what India struggles with is it's got huge kind of economic diversity. So there's a ton of really intense poverty in India, and also a ton of wealth. There are amazing colleges and amazing education, and then there are like huge slums. There's poverty in the villages, and there are also there's incredible wealth in the cities. So it is a place that is developing. It is a place that has a very long history of incredible culture, and it'll be interesting to watch both India and China, because they are today these powerhouses of culture and industry and creativity, and at the same time have a lot of economic struggles ahead of them. So like I said, I spent time in India. It was a truly incredible place to visit. It's a fun place to visit. If people are visiting places anymore, it would be a cool place to go. Okay, I hope you like that. It was a little longer because I'm tired, and it had little Remy cameo. So this was task number 8. If you listened all the way to the end, you're amazing. Task number 9 is listening to this video this other teacher made that is only 5 minutes long. And then there will be a little quiz, and then you're done for the week. I hope you guys are well, and I miss you. And bye.